So, wasn't quite in the agenda for today, but it is time to do a premature service of the photocopy machine. I don't remember if I uploaded the video on my procedures of how I went about reloading the toner cartridges, but apart from the RFID tag and the rabbit hole I went down involving that, I've kind of figured out that the magnetic composite of the toner for this particular machine is slightly different from the toner from the what was it called? This is what makes my videos so great. The Sharp MX550 that I had earlier. But anyway, if I haven't uploaded that video, that's certainly worthy of a watch. But anyway, here we are. So I've broken it down as far as I can do it. I know fuck all about how these things work, and as you can see, they're really quite complex. When you look at this thing, all you think is, how the fuck did they figure out how to make and shape and decide which materials, God, I hate the sound of that fucking traffic, and choice of materials they use to put this thing together, because wow. But anyway, as a result of my semi-failed experiment trying to reload and be a Dutchman, and I'm allowed to say that, being partly Dutch and stingy, now that I've emptied out all the cavities and removed what I could, I can sort of see kind of like a trail, a path as you will, to how the toner and where the toner goes and how it gets to the bottom plate where all those rollers are that transfer the image onto the paper and set it. So obviously each cartridge slides into each one of these slots. Each slot's got a color code which matches the cartridge. Inside the cartridge is an auger. So the auger rotates, and if you look down the very end, that round thing is where the auger clips in and does its rotations. And on the screen during use sometimes it says it's adding toner. So what I can gather, and I could be wrong, is when it's adding toner, it's rotating the auger, and the auger's bringing the powder, the fine fucking powder, forward down this little chute. I don't know if I can make that out there, but there's a little chute that opens up, and it opens up when the cartridge is inserted, so it's spring loaded, right? And then it goes down, down those little chutes, and it comes forward. So if you look to the side, these things protrude out about 6 inches, and when you slide in the, I'm sure there's a name for them, the rollers for each colour, they're spring loaded, so it pushes another chute forward and it goes into, which I've just figured out, into a slot right there. And if I push on here, that opens up. So that tells me inside these things is another cavity where it holds the toner ready for use. Kind of like getting the cows in, getting them ready for putting the cups on. And I believe that there is another little auger that, I don't know if it levels it out or if it brings it forward. I reckon it levels it out, ready for each print. So it does like 1,000 prints, full color A3, and then it needs to reload. It's actually really efficient on toner. I don't know why I'm being so cheap considering the cost of this thing in the first place. But anyway, figuring out how it works. I know this beast of a thing here is what heats the paper as it's finished, and it's a finisher. It's called a finisher. So that gets really blazing hot, and inside that red drum Just show you there. Inside that red drum there is actually a halogen lamp, a nice long halogen lamp. Only because I've pulled one apart before and I've got a couple of lamps from them, and it gets really fucking hot really fucking quick, and that sets the toner permanently on the page. The beauty about using these machines for doing prints is once the finisher has set the toner on the paper, once it delivers it up the top here, it's waterproof, which is really good. Whereas an inkjet printer, as soon as it gets moisture on it, it bubbles up, loses its colour and goes all sad. So that bit just along the top, which I've also recently, semi-recently figured out, is actually an RFID reader. So there's 4 little RFID readers that reads these little RFID stickers. I can do everything with them, but for some reason I can't figure out what the parameters are. I can't figure out any differences. I went down a whole rabbit hole trying to figure out the programming on these things, and I've kind of given up because I saw no patterns, no similarities, and for the sake of $250 or $400 to get a whole set, I've kind of given up and decided fuck it. Today's the day I'm going to pull it all down and give it a clean. And the more I've pulled it down, the more I've observed, because as I always say in all my videos, when you're working on something and you're unfamiliar with it, just stare at it, look at it, observe it, look at every angle, every part, every bit, and just stare at it for as long as you need. A lot of people don't do that. They just get right into it thinking, yep, I'm gonna fix this shit, only to fucking make it worse. Because as I've been staring at it before I decided to do this video, I've learned a little bit more about how this thing operates. And based upon my observations, only thing I can see that I really need to do, and it's going to be easier said than done, is giving it a clean. So this part here is like an exhaust manifold. So I don't quite know why, but for some reason I think they all have this system where if they use or don't need X amount of toner, or toner is contaminated or mixed with other toner, it exhausts it into this manifold and it goes into this little catchment thing, which is located right there. And you get one of those every time you get a new set of new set of toner cartridges. There's my cat. Hello. You're all wet. So my cat's wet as fuck. And I've noticed that that's quite full. Do you want your chair? You can't have it. Go and lie on the floor. There you go. Fucking vehicles. Just pretend for a second I'm still out on the farm. So I need to figure out how to remove all that dust and bits and bobs and toner spillages from not only in these cavities but in these cavities, and I need to figure out how to evacuate all the toner from this part. And I'm going to probably manually empty that and then I'm going to go ahead and fucking remove all the toner and clean each and every one of these. So each colour has 2 parts, this part and this part. This part, I believe, and bearing in mind I've done absolutely no Google searching, no research on this whatsoever apart from reading the user manual, and that was mainly for operation purposes, how to change settings and shit, but not getting deep down into it because they expect you to spend money and get someone that does this for a living to come out and service it for you. Well, I'm not doing that. How hard can it be? So I've got to somehow clean each and every one of these bits and remove all that toner and random shit from there. And then I get to take this roller here and give it a clean. It's meant to be black, not pink. I've inspected every other roller and every other bit that I can so far, and everything's looking good. Just trying to figure things out. Like, you see that move, so obviously that puts pressure on the finishing roller. I can tell by that plastic that it's designed to get hot, so surely that's what that'll be. Everything else outside of the toner management area is clean, apart from that pink roller there. And so, and we've got this thing here. I did know the name of it. Transfer belt. It's like a big belt thing that needs a clean, so I need to remove all the toner from it. Not sure how I'm going to do that yet. And then just feed the belt manually on a table and just clean it, wipe it as I feed it around until it's all clean. And then I'm just going to reinstall the black toner and then navigate the settings and just run it in black and white mode until I can, to be honest, afford to get a new set of cartridges for it. Which is kind of shameful in this situation, because it might cost $400 to reload it fully, but you get a good couple of years of use out of it, and that's using it every day. So you get your money's worth, definitely. But as you can see, there's a lot going on with this thing, eh? So it somehow takes the paper from that drawer, feeds it up. I'm not really sure how it works, where it goes from there. I do believe it goes up over that thing that gets fed along with the belt, from that thing over each 4 colours, including black, and that renders the full colour image, and then it goes through the finisher, and then it makes its way up and comes out the slot up here. Now, last time I serviced it, I pulled the back off, checked all the motherboard and all the circuitry and all the components, and everything's hunky-dory down there. But I'm not sure where it is yet, and I don't want to Google search it or look it up just yet, based on what I've already figured out on the back of it last time I pulled it apart and broke it down. So, done an electronic service last time. This time it's a mechanical service. Somewhere, I believe, is a carbon filter. I've already discovered there's a fan there, a really high-powered vacuum fan. I'm guessing it's about a 24 volter. It's got a really good heavy spin to it when you spin it with your finger. And here's an exhaust hole with dust. So, I'm guessing somewhere in this vicinity there is a carbon filter of some descript. Nothing immediately obvious. I mean, there might not be. Drop that down, have a look up and under. I do know the screws are coded, so for example, green screws are earth connections, and blue screws and red screws are screws that are unscrewed to perform a service. this machine, unlike the other one, I haven't noticed that. All the screws are all the same colour. Instead we do have these random markings, lettered markings, and each one of those yellow markings is pointed out something that is removable. So far I've figured all that out. It's just a whole case of making the effort just to look around like what we're doing now and just look at everything, and then that's when you sort of become intimate with it and you notice things. You notice bits that come out, you notice bits that aren't meant to come out, and in this case kind of figured out the route that the toner takes. It goes down these little chutes with little augers, quite a reliable system. I guess somehow to maximise efficiency and get the best use out of the toner. Because I'm guessing in a general situation where one would buy the OEM, original equipment manufacturer's cartridges to reload it, there wouldn't be all these excessive spillages. And considering, to be honest, it's actually not too bad. Now the challenge that I have, the formal challenge that I have, to be honest, out of all of what I've learnt of this thing so far, is how the fuck am I going to navigate cleaning and removing these bits of toner and shit. So it's raining outside, it's absolutely pissing down. Got the air compressor all set up. I do have a variable vacuum cleaner, so you've got good control over the duty cycle of the vacuum pump. So in other words, I've got a vacuum cleaner that you can change the suction power just by using a little knob. And we're dealing with what, 3" by 2" gaps in each one of these slots. And this one here is probably about a 12 by 2" gap. And I would say it'd be about 13-14 inches back. You can see in the back there, I'll try and zoom in, there's these connectors and then there's these springs. I'm sure those springs have something to do with high voltage and or static. So those springs match up to parts on there, and it's a rabbit hole. How these things work is a bit of a interesting little rabbit hole. But they're a damn sight lot better than those fucking bubble jet printers. It's like being the story of my early life in business is having a not good enough printing equipment. And this will be this one's first toner cartridge change. And you could say I was in a financial situation just temporarily towards not being able to fully fit it out with new cartridges, but at the same time I had brand new cartridges for the last machine that I had and thought fuck it was worth a try reloading those, and I did. I successfully reloaded them in a really interesting way. But just recent development, I've learnt that each different machine has a different composite, magnetic composite of the toner. It's nothing to do with them wanting you to use their toner and fighting over what's theirs in the marketplace. It's to do with, I'm guessing, the electronics that are involved with controlling the high voltage somehow, transferring the toner from the powder rolls to the paper through the what do you call it, through the hot roller to set it. There was a name for that thing, a fuser. I think they call it a fuser. Anyway, I feel like I need to improvise and adapt some sort of fancy ass tool or hose and a brush on the end of a elongated handle of some sort, so I can gently go in there, set the suction and brush around where the suction is sucking. Put an extra filter in the vacuum cleaner because of the fucking traffic, because of the fineness of this powder. Toner is so fucking fine. It is amazingly fine. So I learnt you can literally hold your breath, reload those cartridges in the shower box like I did, and still have multicoloured snot as you pick it out with a finger. So I've rambled on for about 21 minutes now. So all in all, I basically need to have a toner cleaner. This part here doesn't look to me like it's removable. I mean, it might be. It doesn't matter, but if it is, it's definitely something I would take outside and try and blow it out using the air compressor, because it'd be nice to get that clean. So where the bulk of the toner is that I'm aware of, wait for this fucking truck. Lots of time. Okay, so the time's 8 o'clock. It's Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock. The traffic is insane. My office is literally right next to the main road. It's one thing I haven't done is an update of my living and work situation. But anyway, just ignore the traffic. I hope it doesn't come through too loudly. And I'm looking at this and I see, well, okay, so there's cables going through here. So obviously this has got a feed of cables. And I know that those cables go to a sensor. And that sensor is what determines how full the exhaust toner waste catcher is. It's just there. Not quite sure, I can't see anything obvious, a method of how it senses it. I'm not quite sure about that. I'm guessing it might use some sort of infrared or Doppler or some sort of radar to determine how full that thing is. Or it could use some sort of Holofax or magnetic sensor. Who knows? Haven't got that far. Doesn't matter. Either way, that tells me I can't really remove this part. So fuck, getting that out of there is going to be an interesting task. And because that's at the arse end of the whole system, I'm guessing it's not critical that I get these clean. But because of how creative I've got to be to clean all these, which are the critically required parts that need cleaning alongside the removable parts, and that, I may as well make the effort and try and clean it. But no big deal. I'm not quite sure what this thing is. But that comes out. I'm guessing it's a brush, and it brushes something as you pull it out something along in here. I do remember with my last photocopy machine, there was a brush similar to that you pull out and then you put it back in and then pull it out, kind of like, you know, that's what she said, and it cleans some sort of roller or something in here that you can't get any other way. So they did put maintenance and cleaning in the design, I guess you could say. But there's definitely a lot going on here. It's definitely a really complex machine. And surprisingly enough, it's very robust and reliable, and it just prints and prints and fucking prints. So if your administrative side of your business requires printouts, definitely get one of these things. Don't fuck around with those motherfucking printers where you're buying cartridges every single fucking month. I'm just trying to have it look up the top there. So the critical parts that I know I need to clean is in there and there, along there. That roller, the fuser could do with a bit of a de-dust, a light de-dusting. Everything in here is clean. These parts here, I'm not entirely sure if you get new ones of those with, nah, I don't think so. Sometimes you get new bits, extra bits, unexpected bits when you buy reloading cartridges, toner cartridges for it. But it looks to me like I really need to get these parts clean. They're critical, because these are the parts that somehow get the image onto the paper before it sends it to the fuser. And if you take a look here, you can see toner powder fucking there, toner powder all up in there. And judging by how localized the toner powder is on each one of these units, I'm assuming that's normal and it's kind of meant to be there. But because of what I've learned about my reloading, trying to be stingy, the composite of the toner, I need to basically remove all the toner the best I can from all these units here. And the only thing on my side about that is I can take these anywhere to do that job, whereas this, it's not exactly something you can just fucking remove and pick up and take it outside and blow all the dust off. So there you go, a little insight on something that most people wouldn't notice, but that's really critical, especially when I'm producing a product for a client that this fucking machine is working. Because having full color waterproof documentation of schematics, board designs, the fault codes, instructions and everything, paperwork to go with it is really key to good service, you know. Full documentation. It's really important to have full detailed documentation for anything that I've built for people. So if something goes wrong or they go to get it fixed from someone else, they don't quite understand the circuitry, at least it comes with that service data, which most products these days do not have. That's part of the reason why I charge a lot more than what most people would if you're going to get a custom board designed or built, or you want something to do something. You could almost say anything that comes out of my head and anything that's paid for by a client comes with a lifetime guarantee. And service data is really fucking important to good customer service. And this thing is fundamental to providing all the service data that I require So it's very important that I do this job and do it right without fucking anything. I've given it thought to how I'm going to go about it. I'm not quite sure yet how I'm going to go about that. I don't know whether I've got to hold that spring open that chute up, and somehow just gently blow it out, surge it somehow, get the toner out. Not sure. Because I'm guessing there's a cavity here, which I'm guessing is there, which may or may not contain X amount of toner. Because from what I've learned, when it's loading toner into itself, it goes into that chute and into a cavity under here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. And each 4 of these has its own roller. This roller is very sensitive. It can't be scratched or damaged. It's like photosensitive sort of thing. So I'm probably just going to have to be limited to air to get the toner off these parts. But at least I'm confident that these bits don't hold toner. So these bits hold the toner, these bits distribute the toner. And that's what I've learned just by observing and looking at this thing. I could be completely wrong, but I kind of doubt it. So that's where we're at. And once I'm done, I'm not going to load these back in until I've got fresh, brand new ones ready to put in. Instead, I'm just going to load the original black one, which is a new one, and go into the settings and just run it as a black and white unit for now, for doing invoices and any other data sheets that's black and white, only needs black and white. So yeah, hope to anyone who's decided to have a look has found this video interesting. Certainly an interesting insight to how these things work. Quite a fascinating thing, but it's built to requirement, and they certainly built them well. Cost a bit of money to buy up front, but hey, as anyone in the technical community is aware, with printers, you know, the uproar of printers and manufacturers having hissy fits and locking out their printers for not using the original cartridges and all that sort of shit. Epson especially, don't buy an Epson printer. I mean, you spend 120 bucks on a black ink cartridge for a fucking standard bubble jet inkjet printer, and no matter what, unless you dump the chip that's on it and somehow reset it, you can't fucking open it up and reload it with ink. As soon as you shove it back in, it'll just recognise that same chip, and it's exceeded its use and you can't use it again even if you've refilled it. They're a cunt like that. So yeah, certainly fascinating. See how we get on. I think I might be stuck to waiting for this rain to piss off. So I think the best way to navigate that is take those outside and just give them a fucking good blowout. And just keep at it until I see no more toner. Until then I can just manually wipe that down. So kind of like a sponge material. Maybe a air brushing, blow it off the best I can and use a really lightly moist cotton towelette or something to just wipe it down. And then just wipe all that down, give it a physical clean, give that fucking thing there a clean and a blowout, put it all together and it should be good. 34 minutes of rambling about how to clean the photocopy machine.